Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Petri Lindri. I will explanation about summary from To Kill a Mockingbird from chapter 1 until chapter 7. The story starting with a young girl named Jane Rose Finch, who is almost always called by her nickname Scoot. Scoot starts to explain the circumstance that led to the broken arm that her older brother, James, sustained many years earlier. She begins by recounting her family history. The first of her ancestors to come to America was a fur trader and apothecary named Simon Finch, who fled England to escape religious persecution and establish a successful farm on the banks of the Alabama River. The farm, called Finch Landing, supported the family for many years. The first Finch to make a living away from the farm were Scott's father, Atticus Finch, who became a lawyer in the nearby town of Macomb, and his brother, Jack Finch, who went to medical school in Boston. Atticus' wife died when Scott was 2, so she does not remember her mother well. But James, 4 years older than Scott, has memories of their mother that sometimes make him unhappy. In the summer of 1933, when James is nearly 10 and Scott almost 6, a, a peculiar boy named Carlos Baker Harris moved in next door. The boy, who called himself Dill, stays for the summer with his aunt, Miss Russell Hefford, who owns the house next to the Finch. Dill doesn't like to discuss his father's absence from his life, but he is otherwise a talkative and extremely intelligent boy who quickly becomes the Finch children's chief playmate. He was not heard from until 15 years later, when he stabbed his father with a pair of scissors. Although people suggested that Boo was crazy, old Mr. Radley refused to have his son committed to an asylum. When the old man died, Boo's brother Nathan came to life in the house with Boo. Nevertheless, Boo continued to stay inside. Dill is fascinated by Boo and tries to convince the Finch children to help him lure this phantom of Macomb outside. 2. September arrived, and Dill left Macomb to return to the town of Meridian. Scott, meanwhile, prepares to go to school for the first time, and even that she has been eagerly anticipating. When Miss Caroline concludes that Atticus must have taught Scott to read, she becomes very displeased and makes Scott feel guilty for being educated. Miss Caroline offers him a quarter to buy lunch, telling him that he can pay her back tomorrow. Walter's family is large and poor, so poor that they pay Atticus with hickory nuts, turnip greens, or other goods when they need legal help, and Walter will never be able to pay the teacher back or bring a lunch to school. Chapter 3 and Lunch. Scoot rubs Walter's nose in the dirt for getting her into trouble. But James intervenes and invites Walter to lunch. At the Finch house, Walter and Atticus discuss farm condition like two men, and Walter puts molasses all over his meat and vegetables. To Scott's horror. Back at school, Miss Caroline becomes terrified when a tiny bug or cuties crawls out of a boy hair. The boy is Boris Owl, a member of the Owl clan, which even poorer and less respectable than the Cunningham clan. He left the classroom making notification remarks to cause the teacher to cry. At home, Atticus follows Scoot outside to ask her if something is wrong, to which is respond that she is not feeling well. She tell him that she does not think she will go to school anymore and suggests that he could teach her himself. Chapter 4 School continues. The years goes by. School doubts that the new educational system is really doing her any good. She finds school boring and wish the teacher would allow her to read and write, rather than ask the children to do silly activities geared toward group dynamic and group citizenship. One afternoon, as she runs past the Ridley house, she noticed something in the canoped hole of one of the park trees in the front yard. She investigates further and finds two pieces of chewing gum. Scoot is careful, but eventually decides to chew them. The children don't know if the canoped hole is someone hiding place or if the pennies are a gift, but decided to take them and keep them safely at the bottom of James' trunk. Dill comes to Maycomb for the summer again, full of stories about train riders and his father, whom he claimed to have finally seen. The three tried to start a few games, but quickly get bored. James rolls Scoot inside an old chair, but he pushed so hard that it ends up in the Ridley yard. Scoot thinks maybe he's still alive. They invent a new game about Boo Ridley. James plays Boo, Dill plays Mr. Ridley, and Scoot plays Mr. Ridley. The police it up over the summer into a little dramatic reenactment of all the gossip they have heard about Boo and his family, including a scan using Calpurnia's scissors as a prop. One day, Atticus catch them playing the game and asks them if, if it has anything to do with the Radley family. Chapter 5. James and Dale have become closer friends, and Scott, being a girl, finds herself often included from their play. Dale, in childish fashion, has decided to get engaged to Scott, but now he and James play together often, and Scott finds herself unwelcome. Instead of playing with the boys, Scott often sits with their neighbor, the avid gardener Miss Maudie Atkinson, watch the sun set on her front steps, or partakers of Miss Maudie's fine homemade cake. She also says that most of the rumors about him aren't true. Miss Maudie explained that the Radley are foot-washing Baptists. They believe all pleasure is a sin against good, and stay inside most of the time reading the Bible. She says that Arthur was a nice boy when she used to know him. The next day, Jim and Dale hatch a plan to leave a note for Boo in the Radley window. Using a fishing line, Dale and Scott keep watch in case anyone comes along, and Jim tries to deliver the note with the fishing pole, but find that it is harder to maneuver than he expected. As he struggles, Atticus arrives and catch them all. He tells them to stop tormenting Boo and lecture them about how Boo has a right to his privacy and that they shouldn't go near the house unless they are infinite. They are infinite. He accuses them of putting Boo's life story on display for the edification of the neighborhood. Chapter 6. It is Dale's last summer night in Maycomb. Jim and Scott get permission to go sit with him that evening. Dale wants to go for a walk, but it turns into something more. James and Dale want to sneak over to the Ridley place and peek into one of their windows. Scott does not want them to do it, but James accuses her of being girlish, an insult she can't bear, and she goes along with it. Dale sees nothing, only curtains and a small faraway light. The boys want to try a back window instead, despite Scott's place to live, and James As James is raising his hand to look in, the shadow of a man appears over him. As soon as it is gone, the three children run as fast as they can back home, but James lost his pants in the gates. As they ran, they heard a shotgun sound somewhere behind them. When they returned, Mr. Reddy is standing inside his gate, and Atticus is there with various neighbors. Deal makes up a story about playing strip poker to explain James' missing pants. And James says they were playing with match rather than cards, which, which would be considered unforgivable. Deal says goodbye to them, and James and Scott go to bed. James decided to go back and get his pen late that night. Scott tries to persuade him that it would be better to get whipped by Atticus than to be shot and killed by Mr. Redley, but James insists on going. Chapter 7. A few days later, after school has begun for the year, James tells Scott that he found the pants mysteriously mended and hung neatly over the fence when they comes home from school that day. They find another present hidden in the canot hold, a ball of gray twine. They leave it there for a few days, but no one takes it, so they claim it for their own. Unsurprisingly, Scott is as unhappy in Scott's grades as she was in first. But James promised her that the school gets better the farther along one goes. The figures are followed in turning by chewing gum, a spelling bee medal, and an old pocket watch. The next day, James and Scott find the canot hall has been filled with chairmen when James asks Mr. Redley about the canot hall the following day. Mr. Redley replies that he struggled the canot hall because the tree is dying. Thank you.